Hi, Gooby here. Today I'd like to talk about wanting to escape and realizing that there is no escape. I'm out here by myself today. Doobie's at home. There's an atmospheric river flowing over Washington State. Apparently, a whole month's worth of rain is falling in just a few days. Rivers have overflown their banks and flooded houses, flooded roadways. Luckily, the power is still on. But this comes after a month of not having that much rain, like not as much as usual. And the temperature is much higher than it usually is for this time of year. There's not that much snow in the mountains. It's all part of the climate changing. And that brings me to the topic of today, wanting to escape. Now, I've wanted to escape a lot of different things in my life. I wanted to escape growing up in an environment where I was teased for looking differently. I grew up in Oklahoma, and there aren't that many Koreans there. Mostly Caucasian and Native American. A few African Americans, a few Asians, but not much. And I wanted to escape my body. I wanted to escape my race, of my eye shape and my skin color. I wanted to escape where I was. I wanted to escape my home. Wow, the trees are really bending with the wind. I hope a tree doesn't fall down. I wanted to escape being a child in an immigrant family that has taken like all effort and energy to assimilate into this United States culture. This pressure to fit in and make money, to achieve things that the society values. I wanted to escape that. Later, I was working in the system, a system that I was told that if I go into it, I'll be all right. I was being a doctor in this corporate medicine system that is intimately tied to the food system that we have, and insurance and pharmaceuticals and medical device companies. It's all tied together. Well, after I was in that for a while, I wanted to escape that too. I wanted to escape being a cog in the machine who's told, "You're replaceable. Better not speak up. It's best not to be a troublemaker, because you will be let go and replaced. You will be punished. You will be shamed." I wanted to escape. I wanted to escape a civilization that destroys its one home, the Earth. I wanted to escape a society that gaslights itself, that is afraid to confront reality and truth for what it is. Because our egos are too fragile. Our sense of worth is attached to things that it doesn't need to be attached to. Ideas, beliefs. We aren't those ideas, we aren't those beliefs. But a lot of times we attach our self-worth to them. I wanted to escape the hypocrisy of people thinking they're good people. At the same time, they hurt their neighbors. People that think they're religious and they're following their religion, but they do the exact opposite of what their religion says they should do to be a good person. Well, I had fantasies of escaping into the mountains. I spent the better part of, a lot of the last couple years, 2.5, a little over 2 years, out in the mountains. I attempted to learn how to forage. I would say I did learn how to forage, but I quickly learned that it is way harder than I thought. I wanted to try to find my own food out in the forest. I found like a bunch of berries and stuff, and very rarely did I find mushrooms that I know are safe to eat. Like very rarely, even though I see a whole bunch of mushrooms. I'm sure some of them are okay to eat, but it was hard to find the ones that I know for sure a lot of people eat, like chanterelles. It's hard to find them. At least it's hard for me. It's not like there's just like this abundance that I thought there was out in the forest. Well, it brings to mind a story. Well, a bunch of different stories. So I'm going to tell several stories. One story is the story of Christopher Knight. This guy left. He was working, and then he just left one day. Didn't even say bye to his family, and just drove all the way down. He was in Maine. Drove all the way down to Florida, and then drove all the way back to Maine until his gas ran out in his car, and he just left the keys in the car and walked into the woods. And he lived there for 27 years. He found a place amongst these giant boulders that had trees covering it, so you couldn't see the place from if you're walking through, and you couldn't see the place from the sky because there's tree cover. And he lived there for 27 years. In order to not be bothered by anybody, he made it a point to not be detected. So he spent the daytime in this secluded rock camp. And at nighttime, he would go out and burglarize the nearby cabins and campsites for food, for supplies, for sleeping bags, for mattresses, for propane tanks so that he could cook food. And that's how he survived for 27 years. He would make sure that nobody was in the cabin or home before he would break in, and then sometimes he would tidy up the place after he took some of the food, and then he'd be sure to lock the door on the way out. It was a mystery to a lot of people that lived in the area. They didn't know who was doing it and why, but it was going on for 27 years. He would survive in the winter time in Maine, which is very cold in the mountains, by waking up around 2 o'clock when the night is the coldest, and keep moving with layers of sleeping bags that he stole from the neighboring cabins, and he would heat up the snow with the propane tanks that he had hoarded from his burglaries. He didn't talk to anybody for 27 years. Well, he eventually got caught in the 20 teens. And he was brought back to civilization. He was put in jail, and the judge and the state attorney didn't quite know how to sentence him for all the crimes that he committed, that he confessed to. Because it's such a weird case. Like, who's been able to go out there and live 27 years outside of all of this? Well, he wasn't completely outside because he was relying on people's foodstuffs that they were storing in their campsites and cabins, and the fuel that they had. So he wasn't completely living off of the forest. He was still reliant on civilization. He just didn't want to talk to anybody. And he did that. Well, he was in jail for like 7 months while they tried to figure out what to do. And the sentence that the judge gave him was to be in prison for 7 months and 1 week. So just one more week than he already had served. So he was let out in a week. Well, that sounds like, oh, that's a pretty lenient sentence. But I think the harshest part of the sentence for this man was that he had to stay in society and check in with the judge every Monday, every week. He couldn't just go back into the mountains where he wanted to be. So his punishment was to remain part of this society. His brother, who suspected that he died a long time ago, his brother got him a job at an auto shop. And he's still part of society again. There's lots of other stories of people that just disappear into the woods, but many of them die. The Into the Wild guy who went up to Alaska and made a camp in like an abandoned school bus, and he died. The guy that killed his 3 daughters this past summer in Washington, he went out into the woods and he died too. Police found his body. There's people that go into off-grid communities. Some of them watch this channel, and I've found it very interesting that they say that they encountered the same kind of social issues in the off-grid community that they were all trying to escape in this society, in this civilization. That's curious. The social pathologies follow us into the off-grid community. Well, there's other forms of escape besides trying to go into the forest and... Oh, no, I got to finish that thought. The Unabomber guy, Ted Kaczynski, he went out into the woods too, but he also found that he couldn't really escape. He was on property. He was on his own property. He had neighbors. He had jet airplanes flying overhead. He had people riding dirt bikes through the woods that he lived in. It drove him mad. Well, arguably, he was mad before all of that. This is the guy that bombed people to like try to raise awareness at the problem of this technological society, this industrial civilization. And then he went to prison for a long time, and then he died. Ironically, he had to spend the rest of his life in a place where he couldn't see trees, he couldn't see nature, he just saw walls and bars. That's ironic. He ended up living the rest of his life where he had no freedom. His freedom was taken away. He had to live closely packed with a bunch of other people. A bunch of other people that broke the laws of society. Well, that's ironic. I remember going to Orcas Island, which is an island in the Puget Sound near where I live. I remember trying to go to the beach, but I got to the beach and there were all these signs saying that the beach was private property. Public's not allowed on them. The only beaches that we could go to were some state parks, but there were very few. The vast majority of the coastline was off limits to the public. It was owned. And I remember getting very angry about that. That I felt like the coastline, the beach, should be for everybody. It shouldn't be owned. Why is everything owned? You know, the way people lived before was they migrated. They migrated to where the food is, where the salmon go, where the mushrooms go, where the berries are ripening. They come back in the wintertime to avoid the snow. And there also happen to be oysters that are growing, and shellfish, and lots of other yummy stuff. That's how people lived before. Before all of this was owned, was property of some rich person or government. You can't escape into the mountains anymore. You can't escape into the forest. And the forests are not very healthy because they've been repeatedly cut down. At least where I am. The diversity in the forest and the foods in the forest are not like they used to be. You can't escape the sound of jet airplanes flying overhead, like right now. Even if you were able to do something like Christopher Knight did and find a secluded place where you can forage foods and just live away from everybody, well, the climate's changing, like what I was describing in the beginning of the video. You can't escape what's happening to everybody. Even the hunter-gatherer tribes who have made it clear that they want nothing to do with modern civilization. They kill anybody who tries to step foot on their island, on North Sentinel Island. Even they are affected by this civilization. They live on an island. The oceans are rising. Now, it won't submerge that island because that island, I think, goes up to like 130 meters or something. So they'll still have an island, but things are changing. Coral reefs are bleaching. Fishes are disappearing. The oceans are acidifying. You can't escape. I can't escape. And so there are other forms of escape that I want to talk about. The escape of running away from yourself, psychologically. like drinking or doing drugs or shopping or doom scrolling. Anything to like get that hit of dopamine so that you don't have to think about yourself or your life. Religion can be a way to escape too. To think, oh, this life doesn't matter. The next life is what's important. This earth can be totally destroyed for all I care because I'm going to a new earth. That's a form of escape too. Escaping now. Well, I've realized that there is no escape. There's no escape from me being who I am. I look this way. I have these eyes. I have this color skin. I speak English. I don't really know another language other than just a few words. I live in a country called the United States. Well, it's just an idea. What are borders? What are governments? They're just ideas. What is money? It's an idea. But I'm here. I'm standing amongst a bunch of trees in the rain and seeing the trees sway with the wind. I'm part of the system. I don't think there's an escape. So my conclusion is, might as well make this experience the best I can. Make the best of it. Try to find some well-being in the system. There's another form of escape. This idea that things will be better in the future. That someone's going to be smart and come up with some way to solve everyone's problems. That it's just a matter of time before we get the technology to fix everything that we've done. That humanity always progresses to a better future. That someday we'll travel to the stars. That we're starseed. There's a spiritual version to this where people say this is the great consciousness awakening in people. When I look around, I don't see a great awakening in consciousness. I see a lot of people asleep. I see a lot of people trying to escape, just like I am. I see myself trying to escape. Yeah, well, I think we're living in a time where quality of life is getting worse. For, really everybody, but to varying degrees. To the billionaire, they still have to deal with pollution, with unclean air and poison waters and biodiversity loss and mass extinction. They still have to deal with that. But they can deal with that from their climate-controlled mansions with fancy foods delivered to them and cooked and prepared by other people for them, and all their needs met by other people. While other people struggle to make it. I took a friend out to dinner yesterday who got laid off. So I told him, hey, let me take you out for some food and some drinks. And it's on me. I took him out and we hung out at a neighborhood restaurant, pizza place, for like 3.5 hours, just chatting, catching up. We ordered 2 different pizzas and an appetizer, and we each had 3 beers for that long duration of the dinner that we had. And I got the check, and I remember looking at the menu and thinking, oh, it's kind of expensive here. But when I got the check, it just really floored me. It was $150 before tax, no, before tip. And it's customary to tip 20% where I live, so that ended up being $180. $180 US for 2 pizzas, small pizzas, or medium, I don't know, small, medium pizzas, a little appetizer, and then 3 beers each. $180. I remember thinking, dang, that's really expensive for pizzas and beer just to hang out with my buddy. What the heck? How can anybody afford this? That was really expensive. What is going on? I remember being a kid and ordering from the coupons in the newspaper, like getting like 2 large pizzas for like $10 or something. Now, I was a kid then, so I don't know what a 6-pack of beer cost at that time. But let's just say you could get 2 large pizzas for $10 in the 90s. Maybe it was $15. I don't remember the exact number, but it definitely wasn't over 20, and these were large pizzas. Let's just say it was $20. Well, a 6-pack of pints of beer definitely would not cost $160. You know, the difference between $20 and $180. A 6-pack of pints of beer is not going to cost $160. What the heck happened? What are we? I mean, this is it. This is the life that I'm living right now. It goes against the stories that I was told of never-ending progress, about a better future. The hate and racism and proud ignorance that people display goes against what I thought society valued, which was harmony, you know, loving each other, taking care of each other, trying to improve yourself, trying to be aware of yourself, to know yourself, trying to be aware of your surroundings, to understand what's happening to you. The reality of what I see doesn't fit with all these fairy tales that I was told and taught growing up. I live in a society that's run by corporations. Corporations choose our political candidates. Our political candidates serve the corporations and the people that own them, the CEOs, the shareholders, the venture capitalists. They don't serve the people. They say all kinds of really enticing statements of solidarity with people, and they're going to make their lives better, and they trick people into voting for them, and then once they get into office, well, they just give money to these corporations and wealthy people. Is this the America that I was taught about when I was in school in the 90s? Grade school? No. Well, if I can't escape into the mountains, I can't find enough food to provide for me and my family and my doggy just from foraging. If substances like alcohol or processed foods or video games or doom scrolling can only make me dissociate for a short time, and then I have to come back to this life, to my body, to this civilization. Well, if there's no, if it certainly seems like there's no better future awaiting all of us, some kind of universal consciousness awakening or whatever, or solidarity amongst each other, what am I doing? But see, I think that is not actually true. I think that things always change. Well, I mean, it's true that I can't get enough food for me and my family and my dog in the forest right now, because I don't have, I don't live in an area where I can just live there and walk around and forage. Everything's owned. Everything's owned by people or the government. I can't migrate and live on the land because it's somebody else's. It's not the community's. It's not everybody's. Yeah, it's like, I accept that now. So if I'm in the system, and the system's constantly changing, I think it's changing for the worse. Partly because we're running out of energy resources. I think that easy to access oil and gas and coal is running out, and that means that our society has less energy, which means we have less food and comforts and conveniences, and it will get worse. So I think I accept that it will get worse, but I also feel like in this worsening that we all are experiencing, we have choices in how we go through this. I don't think that we can change the fact that we've destroyed a lot of the earth, our forests, our waters, our air. I don't think that we can change the fact that we're all addicted to this energy of fossil fuels, and the fossil fuels are running out. We definitely can't change that. But I think we can change, how we view ourselves and how we relate to ourselves and how we relate to the other living beings. Because we can't escape this. We can't escape each other. Oh, there is another form of escape that I think some people indulge in. This idea that you can separate yourselves from others, that you can deport the people that you don't like or that you feel are different, that you can kill the people that believe something differently, like in a civil war. There's a lot of people that call for civil war in the United States. They're just itching to use all the guns that they've amassed to murder their neighbors. It's really messed up. But that's not going to solve their problem. It's not going to solve this feeling that we all have. It's an uncomfortable feeling that things are getting worse. By killing your neighbor, just going to make it even more worse. Imagine living in a society where a third of the population killed another third of the population. Imagine the hate, the grudges, the blaming, the toxicity. You'd have to live the rest of your life looking over your shoulder. Imagine the bloodlust, the revenge killings. That's just a fantasy too. Civil war is not going to solve this problem. I think we do have a choice, though, in a way to make things better, at least in a way. There's a lot of things we can't change, but I think we can change how we relate to what's happening to us. I think, for instance, I can come to the realization and acceptance that life is gonna become less convenient. It already has. I'm gonna have less stuff. I'm gonna have less energy to do things for me. I may not be able to eat all the foods that I really like. But you know what? It's happening to everybody, not just me. We can come together to try to at least be a community through this. Bonding through suffering. I mean, there is some suffering. There's a lot of suffering. Instead of killing each other, hating each other, we can work together. For instance, instead of being tricked by billionaires and wealthy corporations into making their lives more comfortable through this tough time that everyone else is living through, well, we can say, hey, I'm not falling for those tricks anymore. I know billionaires, they're just looking out for themselves and their billionaire friends. There's a lot more of us than them. We should look out for ourselves. We should look out for each other. I remember going to the grocery store. There was a guy begging for money outside the grocery store. So I just picked up a few extra things, like a sandwich and a jar of peanut butter and a bottle of water, and I gave it to the guy outside. I was asking him how he's keeping warm at night, and he said he was in and out of shelters. Why do we have a society where somebody is going hungry outside a grocery store? A grocery store filled with food that expires and will go bad. Because not all of it will be bought, not all of it will be eaten. Why do we have people standing outside going hungry? Outside a freaking grocery store. Well, I think things could be different. I don't think that we could change the overall trajectory. Well, yeah, we could, but I mean, I don't know. There's just things that I don't think that we can change, that we have to accept. That energy is getting more scarce and quality of life is deteriorating. I think we can accept that, but then we can also choose to do things together to mitigate the worst parts of that. Making wealth inequality increase will increase the suffering for the vast majority of people. So I think the opposite would be better, to decrease the wealth inequality, look out for people, make sure people have like basic necessities of being alive, like having food, having some shelter from the weather, from the cold. This social media thing, man. Yeah, I've been doing this YouTube channel for a year and a half. No, a year and 8 months. And I really realize how corrosive the social media is on all of our minds. It's literally a mind melter. All these comments, people with agendas, people with bot farms, making you question yourself, making yourself think, am I the crazy one? Because all these people in the comments are saying really outrageous stuff. Is there that many people that actually believe that? Is there that many people that believe that the earth is flat? That airplanes are spraying chemtrails or whatever conspiracy nonsense? That DNA doesn't exist because no one's taken a picture of it? I saw that comment. Funny thing is, the structure of DNA was figured out because someone took a picture of it with X-rays. That's how they figured out DNA is a double helix, because someone took a picture of it. So to the person who's ridiculing other people that they believe in DNA, and they say, well, has anyone taken a picture of it? Yes. People took a picture of it. That's how they figured out its structure. That's how Watson and Crick and the lady who actually, I forget her name, the lady who actually took the pictures, that's how they won the Nobel Prize. So yes, there are pictures. Science knows a lot. Doesn't know everything. But it does. You can figure out a lot of things through science. Science can be misused. I talked about psychology experiments in the last episode. What was that called? It was called "It Only Takes One Person Telling the Truth to Shatter Mind Control." And in that episode, I talked about psychology experiments that really show the susceptibility of our minds to group herd behavior, conformity. The majority of us are willing to override what we see with our eyes and hear with our ears and feel with our hearts just to go along with the group, even if the group is hurting other people, hurting ourselves. I also had some positive things, hopeful things, that it only takes one person to give another person the courage to speak the truth, to trust themselves. But I think that psychology, science, can be misused. I think social media is used to control people, to make them go crazy, to make them foam at the mouth. They want to kill their neighbors. They want to deport them. They want to make their neighbors disappear. It's that group of people's fault. It's that group of people's fault. It's that group of people's fault. Anything but the people that own the social media, that run the companies, anything to deflect blame, to deflect responsibility from the people that are using, I think, science, the science findings, to control everybody else. Well, if I can't escape this, I'm just gonna do the best I can to make it at least a little bit better. Because things change all the time. They can change for the better or for the worse. I'm just gonna do my part. Try to make things a little bit better. For myself. For you. For my wife and my doggy. For my friends. For my friends out here. Got these trees and a whole bunch of sword ferns. These are western red cedars. All of them. All of these. Oh, there's one Douglas fir tree. You can tell the bark is different. That skinny one over there on the very far right is Douglas fir. Yeah. But, knowing that this is it. I don't really want to escape. Oh, this is a funny thing. I was thinking about, another form of escape is to unalive yourself, to commit suicide. But I don't think that's an escape. And hear me out. People that have these near-death experiences, they often say that they kind of go to someplace dark and then there's a light at the end of the tunnel. It's like a long tunnel and there's light. And they're going towards the light. And then they come back. Well, some of them come back. But a lot of them talk about this. And I wonder if when this is just purely conjecture, but I find this if this is true, there truly is no escape. So I'm just gonna, I don't know if it's true, but I suspect it might be. So I'm gonna share it. If when you die, that tunnel of light, that tunnel with the light at the end, it might be you being reborn. And it's like the light at the end of the vaginal canal as you're being born into existence again. You just died, and as soon as you die in this body, you're born again into another body that's just coming out of a vaginal canal, or maybe light is now poking through a crack in an eggshell. Maybe you're a bird this time. Maybe you're a fish or a newt. I like that word, newt. Maybe there really is no escape. Maybe this is it. What we have right now is eternity. It's everything. Maybe there is no running away from it. There's only what we choose to do right now. Our choices. Our life. I don't know if that's true or not, but I suspect it might be. And in that case, there really is no escape. Might as well make the most of our situation. Make choices to try to make it, try to find well-being for all, not just humans, but our plant friends, our animal friends, our fungi friends, our bacteria friends. There's this story, there's another myth that I think that is kind of pushed on us, and it's the myth of competition. That everything is a competition, that survival of the fittest, only the strong survive, that you gotta step on other people and beings, creatures, to be alive. But I think that's a myth. And I'm going to give several examples And that's going to be the end of the video. These trees, in order to thrive, they need to work with fungi. Because fungi have these little thin hairs that can get all these nutrients from the soil that the tree roots can't get to. And then the tree gives sugar to the fungi. That's one. Lichen. Lichen is a combination of algae, and cyanobacterium. It's two organisms living together. That's how they survive. And without the lichen, these trees and fungi and animals would not get the nitrogen they need, because very few organisms can take nitrogen out of the air and change it into a form that other life forms can use. Legumes, bean plants are one of them, but lichen is also one because of the cyanobacterium that are living in symbiosis. If you think about us as animals, we need plants to be alive. We can't eat solar panels. These plants have to get the sunlight and incorporate it into their bodies. And we can eat some of those plants, or we can eat animals that ate those plants. But the energy of the sun has to come through plants in order for us to have it, the energy of the sun, to run our bodies. We can't eat solar panels or wind farm blades. Even within our body, there's something like, I think it's like 10 trillion bacteria that live in our gut. That includes some viruses and some fungi too. The microbiome. Without the microbiome, our immune system and our bodily function would be very poor. You die very quickly. Those bacteria are as integral to our health as, like, say, our skin cells or our kidney cells or our brain cells. But they're a different organism. They're a different life form, but they live inside of us. They actually communicate with us. The phrase, you eat what you crave and you crave what you eat, is because when you eat a certain way, certain sets of bacteria in your microbiome predominate over others because they're good at eating whatever that food was. And then they tell you to keep eating that kind of food so that they can get what they want. It makes you crave for the same foods because your bacteria profile, it wants that kind of food. So in order to change how you eat, you just got to change how you eat, and it'll change your microbiome. It takes like a couple of weeks to a month to like fully change over. But once you do, like if you're eating healthier, like if you're eating more whole food, plant-based foods with less salt, no preservatives, very little oil and sugar, like if you eat that way, well, it just takes some time. And then you'll crave those foods because your microbiome, your bacteria profile has changed. It's a symbiosis. And then they're healthier eating that way because there's a lot of fiber in those foods, because those bacteria, they want fiber. But if you eat like how I did last night, some pizza and beer, well, then I'm going to have bacteria in my gut that wants to eat those unhealthy things. It's going to make me want to eat more pizza and drink more beer. So, but it's all, I think this idea that everything's a competition and everyone's out for themselves, I think is a myth, because you can't survive as one person. You can't survive as one organism. Really, we've got a global community, not only of human beings, but plant beings, fungal beings, animal beings, besides humans, because humans are amongst the animals. We are animals. Yeah. I'm seeing that it's really a community. I'm part of a community. I have responsibility as a community member for the health of the community I live in. I have a responsibility for the health of the community of my body. All these trillions of human cells that are outnumbered like 10 to 1 by all the bacteria cells in my gut. I'm responsible. I'm responsible for this. I'm responsible for how I treat my neighbors. I'm responsible for being present. Not running away. Well, that's what I wanted to talk about feeling the need to escape and realizing that you can't really escape. And if you can't really escape, might as well make the best of it. Bye.